I knew that I loved to do classical music, but that was not what I was interested the most. And that's when I found out that, hey, there is this other genre, jazz, which is more like me. Never give up. It's a cliche, but it's true. It's very true because it can be really hard in this business, in this city, for everyone. There are a lot of people trying to do the same thing. Most of them fail. And only those who are talented and work really hard, they can really make it.
My guest today is composer, orchestrator, and CEO of the Budapest Scoring Orchestra, Balint Sapszon. Trained at the prestigious Bartók Conservatory and Liszt Academy of Music in Hungary, Balint holds a master's degree in composition, jazz arrangement, and music theory. In 2007, he received a Fulbright Scholarship to study film scoring at the University of California, Los Angeles, where he quickly began establishing himself in the world of film music. Balint's film scoring and orchestration credits include Parasite, which is the Oscar winner for the Best Picture, Spike Lee's film See You Yesterday, all-time Chinese box office hit Operation Red Sea, and the HBO film Bad Education, and more. After using his friends back in his native Hungary to record the score to his first film, and then helping other composers to do their scores there as well, Balint founded the Budapest Scoring Orchestra and eventually purchased one of the finest scoring stages in Europe to record in. Today, Budapest Scoring is used by composers, film, and television studios from around the world. During the interview, we talked about the birth of Budapest Scoring, his transition into film scoring, the global impact of the orchestra, his jazz influences, and much more. I spoke with Balint from his home in Los Angeles. I want to start where I think a lot of people are wondering about the Budapest Scoring. I know you have a big background, and we'll definitely get to it. But Budapest Scoring, how did that come about?
It came to me over 10 years ago, 13 years ago, when I started recording my own music with my folks in Budapest. And at the time, I was already here in Los Angeles, and I had many friends, film composers, who liked what I was doing. And they asked me to help them by organizing their recording sessions, scoring sessions. And at the time, I just did it to help them out. And then more and more people came to me asking for help. And at one point, I decided to start doing it as a business. And that's how Budapest Scoring started.
It happens in a historic studio, right?
It does, yeah. This studio was founded by Zoltán Kodály, one of the most famous Hungarian composers in the 50s. And at the time, this was the only Hungarian scoring stage. During the communism, it was only one record label in Hungary. It was the state label, and it was a property of that label, the Hungaroton. A couple of years ago, we were lucky enough to have the chance to purchase the studio, so now it's our property.
Excellent. That's quite a large job to take on. You know, it's one thing to manage the bookings for the symphony or for the scoring, and the other thing is to have a big studio like that.
Yeah, these two things are connected, and actually throughout the years, we became more and more busy with the sessions. So in the beginning, we were booking other studios, and we were sort of depending on the schedule of other studios. So time has come when we were in the need to have our own studio to write our own calendar, because fortunately, more and more sessions requests were coming in. And in the perfect time, the opportunity presented itself. And we managed to acquire the studio. So these two things are definitely connected.
There are so many people that I know use your orchestra. Most of them do it virtually. How many people actually attend the sessions from outside of town?
You know, more and more. Obviously, during COVID, nobody came. Everybody was doing it remotely. But since 2023, I would say more and more people hop on the plane, fly out to Budapest, and connect, attending the recording session with a few days of vacation spent in Budapest, which is a very nice city, by the way. So I would say maybe 20% of our sessions are with composers personally attending, and the remaining 80% is remote.
I'm surprised it's that high, actually, but maybe I shouldn't be.
Yeah, actually, I'm a little surprised too, because as I said, it was completely 100% remote. But I think that more and more people are posting about their experience being present in the studio, and that's a good advertisement. Last week, I met actually musicians who attended the session, and they're thinking of representing Budapest Scoring in their country, and they would like to sell the experience. That's what they said. they had such a good experience in the studio, and they would like to share it with others.
How big is the studio? How many players could you get in?
It's 300 square meter, so it's about 3,000 square feet, I would say, and 9 meters high. We have done sessions with 80 plus orchestra plus 40-piece choir, so it can accommodate over 100-piece ensemble.
Whoa, that's big. All right, let's talk about your background, because prior to getting into that, you had a pretty successful career, both in Hungary and when you came to Los Angeles as well. Let's go back to when you were in Hungary and getting into music.
I'm coming from a family of musicians. My grandfather was a choir master of the biggest Hungarian choir at the time, and probably the biggest in Europe as well. And so I had a musical education from the early ages. I studied piano, and then after my conservatory years, I went to the Liszt Music Academy, and I studied composition, both classical and jazz. And my major was piano at the time. I made a living in Budapest as a jazz arranger, piano player, before I got the Fulbright Scholarship, which allowed me to come to Los Angeles when I was 26. I'm very thankful for the Fulbright Commission for that opportunity, which allowed me to study at UCLA, take the film scoring program at UCLA Extension, and get the diploma. And after that, I started writing my own music, doing orchestrations, arrangements for others. And that's how it started.
It must have been culture shock for you coming to Los Angeles. Had you been here before, or was it the first time?
It was my first time. It was my first time in the US, actually. I arrived on September 21st. I had my first class on the 22nd at UCLA. And it was a culture shock, yeah. It was very different from what I experienced before, but I loved it.
How long did it take you to get used to it?
I would say a couple of months to understand everything and to understand how things work. It was a great learning experience, and I really enjoyed it.
At that point, was it your goal to get into film scoring?
Yes, absolutely. That was the goal. And I started doing that. And then after 5 years, as I told you in the beginning, more and more people found me with these recording requests. And I wanted to do this as a side job. And then sort of it became my main job because we became so busy.
It's not a bad thing, actually. Yeah. It's good to be busy, especially like that. Do you get much pushback from Los Angeles musicians, orchestral musicians?
No, actually, I really try to collaborate as much as possible with musicians and with contractors as well. So sometimes we do collaborate with LA contractors. I help them out. We help them out. We do favors to each other. We also use local conductors, bring them to Budapest. They guest conduct our sessions sometimes. We have musicians who came over and we use them as well. So I hope they're not looking at me as an enemy, but someone who's doing the same thing and very open for collaborations.
When you bring in a guest conductor, is there a problem communicating? And I don't mean so much language, but just the fact that it's a different approach, I would think, from a European point of view than from Los Angeles.
Yes and no. And the reason we'd like to have guest conductors is because it educates our musicians. They see a different conducting style, a different style of running a session than our conductors may do. However, our conductors are really professional and they do it in a way which is absolutely professional. But there is a translation involved. And it's a good thing when the musician is there and they have to focus on what the conductor says and what the client is saying without getting a translation afterwards, because they're used to getting everything translated, even though they understand what they say. So they may become lazy. But when we have an English-speaking conductor there, then they're forced to listen. And of course, a good example is Jeffrey Pope, who we have over on a regular basis as a guest conductor. He's a studio conductor here in LA. And it's a learning experience for both of him and the musicians as well.
Well, anytime you take someone out of their environment that they're comfortable with, I think it's a learning experience. You're a performer as well, and you've performed, from the way it looks, all over the world. Do you do much performing anymore?
Not as much as I would like to. Yes, I played with several performers and bands throughout the years. Toured in Asia, Australia, Europe. But when I moved to Los Angeles and started dealing with scoring, the more time I spent on scoring, the less time I had for performing the piano. So I do play, but most of the time I deal with scoring stuff.
Well, let's talk about scoring for a little bit, because there's a lot of people that want to do it, and there's very few that can break through. So how did that happen for you?
Well, in the beginning, I tried really hard to get projects which I was interested in. Obviously, many of them I didn't get, and at one point the ice broke, and I got a movie which I was really happy to work on. And that was the first movie which allowed me to record with a symphonic orchestra. Actually, we did a couple of sessions with the choir symphonic orchestra. In fact, I had to write source music as well, which was a challenge for me. And I love to do it because it allowed me to write music for a jazz group, jazz big band. I had to write music for children choir and stuff which is not typical even for a composer to do. So after that, I kind of stabilized myself, and I started doing orchestrations as well for other composers. Yeah, I just never gave up, and I guess that benefited after a while.
First score that you did, the first movie that you did you use the Budapest Scoring Orchestra?
At the time, it wasn't called Budapest Scoring Orchestra, but yes, I used musicians from Budapest. The group of musicians whom I attended the school with when I was in high school, I went to the Conservatory in Budapest, and so that was the core of the orchestra at the time. I had a friend who I asked to contract them, put together the group. So yeah, from the very beginning, I've been recording my music with Budapest musicians.
I guess that was a big influence on the other composers that you met here in Los Angeles, I would think.
Yes, absolutely. They really liked the way the score sounded. So that's why I helped them in the beginning to put together their sessions when they had to score their movies. And, they all had a great experience. And one day this Italian publisher came to me and told me that, hey, you should do a company and do it as business. And I said, okay.
Good decision.
Yeah.
You mentioned before about touring through Asia, and I saw somewhere in your bio about doing, what is it, the biggest Chinese film ever? Operation Red Sea?
Yeah, we did that too. Yeah. I was orchestrator on that movie, and it was a big hit at the time. And finally, because now we're doing the biggest films in India, actually, with Budapest Scoring. In the last couple of years, we became so popular in the Indian film business that we're scoring maybe 90% of their films. Not only that, but they invited us to concert tours. We're touring in India on a regular basis with Indian artists. There is a show which is happening right now with concerts in India in every week or second week in a different Indian city for 40, 50,000 people performing. So Budapest Scoring became not only a studio orchestra, but also a performing orchestra over worldwide. We have invitations from Europe, from China. India is a regular thing that's happening.
It sounds like you're big enough that actually might hinder the scoring that's going on back in Budapest if you're touring as well. There's enough musicians to go around?
We have a pool of musicians with over 1,000 musicians, including choristers. Yeah, so we have a big group of musicians. So yeah, sometimes we have sessions in two different studios, and at the same time there is a tour happening. So we're divided by 3 groups. Yeah, luckily we have enough musicians to be able to do that.
Now, I know a big reason that people like to use the orchestra is because of price, but price wouldn't matter if you guys weren't good.
Obviously, price is a very important factor. However, there are many other orchestras east of London who do the same. Fortunately, in the last couple of years, what I see is that we came higher and higher, that if you leave London, we're the first choice.
Yeah, that's the way it seems. Is it because the quality of musician is better? And if that's the case, why?
It's because our musical heritage is quite strong, I would say. We're the country of Franz Liszt, Béla Bartók, Zoltán Kodály. So music education is really strong. That's one of them. And then we have good engineers who understand what it needs to do scoring. Fortunately, we have a great studio equipped with state-of-the-art equipment. So I think it's a good combination of the technical and the musical aspects that made us become successful.
When you purchased the studio, did you have to re-equip it, or was it already equipped?
When we purchased the studio, it came with some vintage microphones, which are great, but it was only part of what we needed at the time. So yes, we had to invest a lot into buying additional equipment, additional microphones, console, and whatever we needed, new speakers, converters, whatsoever. So it was a combination of both. We inherited some really good equipment, really good microphones, and also we had to invest and buy some really good modern equipment, including 72-channel SSL duality console, for example, among other equipment.
Were you using a particular studio as a model for that?
It's a good question. There were people who compared the studio to Abbey Road, even though Abbey Road is higher, has a longer reverb tail, which many people like, many people don't. I wouldn't say, we were trying to copy any other studios, but we definitely had an idea of what we needed, and we knew the standards. For example, M50 microphones are popular on the Decca tree in Hollywood, so that was a good direction to go to.
Can't go wrong with that. Everything I read about you in your bio, there's a lot of jazz. Was that like your first love?
Yes, I always loved jazz music. Was a fan of jazz music. When I was in classical school, classical conservatory, I knew that I loved to do classical music, but that was not what I was interested the most. And that's when I found out that, hey, there is this other genre, jazz, which is more like me. And that's what led me to become a jazz piano player and composer.
Okay, so let's go there for a second. That's not easy for a lot of players in general, especially those that grew up in classical music and they're used to reading, and all of a sudden you're in the world of improvisation. So how did that work for you?
So I fell in love with the jazz harmonies, and then improvisation came, which is something that was always present in classical music as well. But somehow, recently, the way music education went, they just forgot that improvisation was present not only in jazz music, but classical music too. And now it is an essential part of jazz music. And I think it's really important to have it in our vocabulary.
How long did it take you to make the transition to that, though? Because again, if you're used to just reading all the time and then it's time to improvise, that's a whole different approach and a whole different mindset.
Well, I listened to a lot of jazz music, jazz piano players. I did transcriptions and transcribed solos, for example, from Herbie Hancock and other great ones. And, little by little, my own improvisation style started to come out. And it took me a couple of years until I became a piano player who could improvise comfortably. Obviously, we always learn and we always improve our skills. But there was definitely a transition from classical to jazz, which took me a couple of years.
Do you see yourself mostly as a piano player or a keyboard player? Do you delve into electronics as well?
Yeah. I love clavi, Rhodes, and organ and the analog synth stuff as well. But still, I would consider myself a more a piano player than a keyboard player.
Yeah, it's funny because there are some people that are just the opposite. They feel that they're more electronic. Their approach is more electronic, I think. Yeah. What's one thing that you wish people knew about you that they don't?
It's a hard one. I'm a father of two. I have 2 very energetic sons. One of them is 4.5-year-old. The other one is 7. I love them. I have a beautiful wife. She is a clothing designer, and we met here. She's Hungarian, but we met here in LA 13 years ago. I don't know. We just love living here in Los Angeles. We have a second home, Budapest and LA as well. And we are lucky to find a new home, a new place here in Los Angeles.
What are the challenges that you face with the orchestra? Is there something that pops up often you wish wouldn't?
Changing schedule. Yeah. Schedules change all the time. We log the date in, and then production changes the schedule on the composer. Composer comes to me and says that we have to postpone the sessions, and I became a master of that. You have to play with the sessions as it was a chess game, and so it requires a lot of logistics, a lot of flexibility. But because we have our own studio, it allows us to be more flexible. That's one of the challenges. Also, we pay attention to the quality of music that composers send sometimes. I'm talking about notation, talking about session prep. There will be many mistakes, and we try to educate them. So we have guidelines which we send out to every new client to educate them how we would like to get the scores, the parts, the Pro Tools sessions to avoid running into something problematic. That has been a challenge, and it's became much better throughout the years. So yes, mostly those 2 things, I would say.
Okay, last question then. What is the best piece of advice that either somebody imparted to you or you learned along the way?
Never give up.
I hear that a lot, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cliche, but it's true. It's very true, because it can be really hard in this business, in this city, for everyone. There are a lot of people trying to do the same thing. Most of them fail, and only those who are talented and work really hard, they can really make it.
Another question while I think of it. So production has decreased both for film and television, especially post-COVID, but it sounds like you guys are as busy as ever.
Yes, that's mainly because now we have clients, and we work on productions not only in the US, but all over the world. So big market is China, India, Europe, and literally all over the world, Australia. We have requests coming from, and not only COVID, but the writer's strike, for example. Business really slowed down. People didn't have any work, and we felt it, but not as much, because the other markets kept us alive. So it's a good thing that we're very international. We have clients from all over the world, and we stand on many legs.
Thanks for listening and being in my inner circle. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, you can send them to questions@bobbyowsinski.com. You can also learn all about the latest in music, audio, and production news, and find out about openings for my latest online classes at bobbyowsinski.com. This is Bobby Owsinski. I will see you next time.